War has always been with us, in its modern as well as in its ancient forms. Hello, my name is Lawrence Peters. I'm the author of the United Nations History and Core Ideas, and I made this short video just to illustrate some of the themes of the book and to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the United Nations. Over the past 3,400 years of world history, humans have been entirely at peace for only 268 of them, or just 8% of recorded history. At least 108 million people were killed in the wars of the 20th century. Estimates of the total killed in all wars vary from 150 million to 1 billion. Both the League of Nations and the UN were born on the battlefields of Europe, and they would not have been possible without US leadership. The UN was not just an American achievement, it was a world achievement, and you can feel the swelling pride of a global society coming into fruition with this little news clip from the 1945 San Francisco celebration.
It was a conference to write a people's charter, opening with the words, "We, the people of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind."
There were many who doubted that agreement could ever be reached by these 50 countries, differing so much in race and religion, in language and culture. But these differences were all forgotten in one unshakable unity of determination to find a way to end war.
And the United Nations, sitting there so proudly, 164 stories high, is a symbol of that great achievement. But it's also a working body. The General Council is dealing with all kinds of issues, global issues that affect everybody on this planet today, including climate change, including the situation with regard to refugees, and a whole host of issues dealing with disease, Ebola, AIDS, and so forth. I wrote this book not just to celebrate that profound achievement, which is 70 years old this October, but to talk about how that achievement is connected to 2,000 years of intellectual history that dates back to the Greeks. And I talk about the idea of global citizenship, which we can trace from the Stoics through to Kant, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but also to the human rights tradition from Erasmus to Eleanor Roosevelt, the idea of a global forum, and also the idea of international law as the norm to hold individuals and countries responsible for their actions. The story begins 2,000 years ago in ancient Greece. Now, Diogenes was a revolutionary figure. When he was asked where he was from, he replied, "I am a citizen of the world." That was a radical move, and it began to develop, and the Stoics took up the idea. And it was Herolakes who designed the idea that we live within concentric circles, and we start with the self, we move out to the family, to our fellow citizens, then to our countrymen, and finally to mankind as a whole. And our task as individuals is to connect ourselves with mankind. That's our task. And it was an incredibly far ahead of its time notion that we're still learning to live with. The man who then was deeply impressed by the Stoics was Immanuel Kant, who took some of the ideas and worked them into an important essay called Towards Perpetual Peace. And it was this essay, Perpetual Peace, that a young Princeton professor by the name of Woodrow Wilson read. And it impressed him enough that when the time came and the world was in crisis, he turned to Kant because the 14 principles that Kant laid out as a way to secure peace were the same 14 principles, more or less, many of them similar to Woodrow Wilson's 14 points speech that he gave to Congress in 1918. And within 2 years of that speech, the League of Nations was formed in Geneva, Switzerland. Now, there were lots of problems with the League of Nations, as we know, but it was a significant achievement given the time and given the ambition. And it took another president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a deep admirer of Wilson and followed the League of Nations quite closely as a young man, who then took those ideas, modified them, and helped create the United Nations. Clearly, that's only one small part of the story, one strand in a complex web of interactions and influences that form the United Nations. For more details, check out the book and check out my webpage, and I hope you'll enjoy it and get a great deal of understanding from it as we celebrate the 70th anniversary of the UN. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.